All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's roundtable, Training Funds for Manufacturing. This webinar is hosted by the Alliance for Manufacturing and Technology in partnership with our 3 SUNY colleges, as well as WDI. My name is Jeff Dubrava. I am AMT's Director of Client Services, and I'll be today's moderator for the roundtable. This webinar is going to be recorded, and a link to the webinar will be available on our website and will also be sent to everybody after the meeting. We do want to make this meeting as interactive as possible today. So as you can see, when you do enter the meeting, everybody is muted. But if you have any questions at any time during the session, please feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand or type a question into the chat box. We recommend that you ask your questions at any time, as we'd like to address them as they arise throughout the presentation. But we'll also have some time at the end for some questions as well. So today I'm going to briefly share our agenda, and I'm going to give you an introduction to all of today's players on the call. So right now, I just wanted to take a moment to go through our agenda. First, we're going to start off with some quick introductions. We're going to have a program overview and process about the work-based learning grant focused on the student side, but also the SUNY Workforce Development Grant that is focused on the companies. We're also going to have a testimonial done by our friends at Indian Milk and Honey. We're going to review the SUNY training that is available. We're going to have an overview of the Workforce Development Institute. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to have some time for some questions and answers. And then we'll wrap up and talk about next steps. So today, the speakers that we're going to be having on the call are Mary Cohan from SUNY, Jeannie Eschbach from SUNY Corning Community College, Carrie Whitmore from TC3, Danielle Britton from SUNY Broome, as well as Dave Goodness from WDI. So again, very quickly before we get started, for those of you that aren't too familiar with AMT, I just wanted to give a brief introduction as to what we're all about and what we do. So AMT has been a leader in assisting local manufacturers in overcoming the challenges of today's competitive economy. We have a highly skilled team of experts that has many years of industry experience combined with extensive consulting, training, and coaching experience. We are a team of business advisors who have built a reputation for understanding and meeting manufacturers' needs with expert solutions. The Alliance for Manufacturing and Technology is a not-for-profit organization that works primarily with small to medium-sized manufacturers to help them become more productive, profitable, and globally competitive. We are part of the MEP National Network. MEP stands for Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and this network is a unique public and private partnership that delivers comprehensive, proven solutions to the manufacturing industry. We do have a lot of friends on the call, but there's also a lot of folks that we have never met before. So I will be taking the time to reach out to everyone after the call to give you a little bit more insight into AMT and discuss how we might be able to help you. So again, wanted to welcome everybody to today's roundtable discussion about training funds for manufacturing. And with that said, I'm going to hand everything over to Mary Cohan.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mary Cohan. I'm the project manager at the New York College Apprenticeship Network grant through the State University of New York System Administration, located in Albany. And today I'm going to talk about an area of our apprenticeship funds that actually supports work-based learning / 5 Hallmark training programs. And that is what I'm hoping you'll get from today's presentation. I've been working at SUNY System under this grant that supports work-based learning since the end of 2019. And before that, I worked for 7 years in workforce development on a community college campus. So I have a very strong relationship with our SUNY community colleges, especially the ones on the call today, doing workforce development, trying to meet the needs of employers and specifically in advanced manufacturing. And I think the grants that SUNY system currently has to administer, including the one I'm going to talk about today that supports work-based learning, will help to support your companies in the future. So this is a really great opportunity for me to sort of market what we have available that you may not be aware of and talk through how best to try to administer this grant to you. So like I mentioned today, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a summary of what this work-based learning training funds are, why SUNY is so invested, what the impact is, and to talk to you about what is actually available. So when as SUNY looks to reimagine the workforce post-COVID, we have been looking at ways to support industry and ramping up to pre-pandemic levels using new and innovative hiring models. So the state of New York recognizes that and recognizes SUNY as being the educational leader to be able to do that. And these are just some graphs that we are using to show that we are not where we were pre-pandemic, but that we are working to get to those levels based on the funds available through SUNY to support both work-based learning and apprenticeship training models. Some fast facts for you. I was at a roundtable last week and I realized that not everybody understands the breadth of what SUNY is able to cover across the state as an educational institution system. We have 64 campuses, 30 of which are community colleges. We're located all over the state. If it's a public institution of higher education, it's under the SUNY system. We serve 370,000 students. And what we have done realistically is to try to ramp up our online offerings so that anybody in the state is able to access education from a SUNY community college. It could be a comprehensive college, but the point is that SUNY is here across the state to support employers and employees for their needs. Just to give you some more, a better understanding of some of the credentials that have been recently earned through the system. Actually, we have seen, unfortunately, due to COVID levels, a decrease of almost 24,000 students system-wide since last year. However, we have seen some ramping up in the graduate credentials. So there actually was a little bit of an uptick there, which is somewhat interesting. But just to give you an understanding of what we're capable of doing, these are some of our numbers for some of the credentials recently earned as December 22nd, 2021. So we are the major educational provider for the state of New York. We serve 400,000 students. We administer almost 74,000 undergraduate degrees. Many of those fall within our associates at our community colleges, which act as one of the most important assets that we have in the SUNY system. So why did SUNY want to get involved in workforce development, specifically looking at new hiring models and to support apprenticeships, to support work-based learning? Well, they see hiring models such as apprenticeship and work-based learning as really a win-win situation, because not only are we tapping into industry to meet needs and to support educational the educational supported needs of employees who are that are at companies, but we're seeing them as potential students that could come to the SUNY system that will get those needs where an individual can move up in their job while also gaining potential certifications, credentials, associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees through the system. So we are looking at companies to help the colleges fill some seats while also supporting the companies where at times companies would have actually had to pay potentially for the education of their employees. So this was really a great initiative that we see as a large investment in the state of New York. And really those investments are through two funding streams. One is through our SUNY apprenticeship program state funds. Those are administered, like I mentioned, through the state of New York, not through the federal government, to support training programs, including apprenticeship and advanced manufacturing and all other sectors, including IT and anything outside of construction, as well as healthcare. The other grant, which is the one I'm really talking about today with the work-based learning, is under the U.S. Department of Labor, who has partnered with the SUNY system to support all scaling U.S. Department of Labor training programs, which include specifically the work-based learning 5 hallmark program that's in advanced manufacturing. I just want to give you a taste of what we have funded under these funds. We fund industry roundtables in person and virtually. We have supported pre-apprentice trainings, such as boot camps through our community college systems. The related instruction is one of our biggest areas, and it's one that we see as sort of the golden A. We see that as sort of the most important to us, because really we do like to partner with the Department of Labor with their registered apprenticeship programs to provide the educational piece, and there's the most money in that area, and I'll talk about specifically what that money is. The work-based learning 5 hallmarks program, which is what we're focused on today. Again, those funds are available only through our federal grant and to support only advanced manufacturing companies. We have supported the curriculum development for designing more courses that would be colleges would be able to offer online. We have, through our NICAN grant, we've been given extra funds to support a pilot at Finger Lakes Community College, actually, who is working to design that, especially because they're utilizing the input from employers in creation of more courses that would be available online for advanced manufacturing. And lastly, hybrid incumbency-based tool development and administration, which actually is more towards the registered apprenticeship piece, which isn't what we're really discussing today. We do have funds in that arena, as well as on-the-job training reimbursements. And so those are just, I wanted to give you a really quick overview of what's possible under the funds that we have. But we do have partners that are actually administering our funds. It is through the SUNY system, but we can't actually hold on to our own funds. So we have lead partners to do that, and they are community college campuses. Mohawk Valley Community College is the lead partner. That is where our funds live for both our federal grant and our state grant, and all of the funds that they administer are in the advanced manufacturing, IT, and other arena, versus SUNY Schenectady. They hold on to our healthcare funds, and for that, we're only looking at registered apprenticeship. So really, the funds that we're looking at today, the work-based learning funds, are only in advanced manufacturing, and those would be through Mohawk Valley. So as we mentioned, the related instruction is really the most important piece, because that's where the educational portion of what we can offer and have the most funding to support is through. So we do have up to $5,000 for the educational piece of a person's work-based training. The registered piece is where you would get that $5,000. What we have available under work-based learning is $1,500 to support a customized training program at your company using a community college campus. Again, that's only in advanced manufacturing. We offer up to $500 per a participant if they were interested in doing a pre-apprenticeship program at a college campus. And then we also have on-the-job training reimbursements. That's for registered apprenticeship. So if you as a company were to do work-based learning, you utilize those funds, you had a really great relationship with SUNY Corning, and you decided as a company that you wanted to move towards registered apprenticeship, we would have more funds up to $5,000 to support that person, and you would also get those on-the-job training reimbursements. So I do want to make a pitch that those are also available, though they're not under the work-based learning funds. They are the work-based learning funds we see as potential steps going towards an apprenticeship. And I gave you sort of what an example of our on-the-job training reimbursements look like. The company does have to be for under 50 employees, and it would be a 50% salary reimbursement up to $25 an hour for 6 months for a person that would be registered. So those are just some other facts I wanted to share with you today. SUNY, what do we do? For this, we coordinate our lead partners in colleges. We have a website in which we field interest from prospective employees and employers looking to get involved with our, I want to say it's apprenticeship funds, but it could be work-based learning programs. We work to manage and implement all our grant activities, and we develop and conduct social media and marketing outreach statewide. So we're here, we're on the road, we're on our social media websites. We are here to work and market our initiatives as best we can through the state. Other things I wanted to just share with you today, we have really incredible pathways. That's why we utilize our community colleges, because they are the institutional knowledge of what they can offer an employer and potentially an employee. These are some examples, a cross section of some of what we have done with our funds in marrying industry with the SUNY system. For example, at SUNY Schenectady, they were actually working under work-based learning. They had a program that they were interested in developing in the craft brew arena, but they had a company that wasn't sure they wanted to move towards apprenticeship, so we supported them under work-based learning. With the actually at the time it was $2,500. We supported this person. The company, the brewery actually decided they did want to register the title because they wanted their apprentice to get more funds from SUNY, because we said once you do register, you would get up to $5,000 worth of related instruction funds. And with that, they built an articulation on their OJT side, which was really unusual because usually you articulate certificates through SUNY credentials on the related instruction, that classroom training, but they were able to articulate the on-the-job training towards credits in their actual craft brew program. So that was just really exciting to see that pathway develop from a work-based learning training program into a registered apprenticeship, and watching what the college side was able to develop to accommodate that participant. Micro-credentials are really a huge buzzword right now. They're growing in the SUNY community. A few years ago, only a couple community colleges had approved micro-credentials. Now there's a huge push because they're seen as really valuable by employers. And it allows somebody to gain a credential that's not a full degree, but has a lot of potential towards a full degree. So we look at SUNY Ulster. They're one of our leading campuses when it comes to micro-credentials and developing them to meet the needs of employers in the area. And certificates can I don't want to say easily be developed, it depends on the college, but we have been able to support a lot of our healthcare trainings under apprenticeship, but there has been a lot of interest in developing more certificates to meet the needs within, and certificates are certainly one of those credentials that have been developed to meet the needs of employers with our funds. So just a few pathways. SUNY has supported almost 150 employers with a variety of trade titles using these funds that I'm discussing today in all areas. So I just wanted to let you know we are everywhere in every industry and looking for new ways to get into different companies, looking for new ways to support your customized training programs that could lead into registered apprenticeship or not. But these are just a good cross-section of where we've done that. And SUNY support. Okay, so SUNY partners, we are not doing this alone. We have some really great partners, especially on the registered apprenticeship side, but they also work with us to support work-based learning. If your company is interested but not ready to get there, or potentially you're just work-based learning programs are really what would work for your company. And at the very end, I'll tell you what would be needed from your company if you're interested in getting $1,500 to support participants. But we are working across the state with alliance partners connected to the Manufacturing Association of Central New York. We're working with BNMA, Rochester Technology and Manufacturing Association, RTMA. In the Capital Region, we work with CEG. COI is working in the Lower Hudson region. Ignite Long Island is our where we are working to market our funds in the Long Island area. And the Manufacturing Association of Southern Tier is as well working and aware of the funds that we have available. The WDB Herkimer Madison Oneida, that is if you were a company that used work-based learning funds for customized training, decided to become a registered sponsor, and were interested in those OJT reimbursements, those are administered through the Workforce Development Board and Herkimer Madison Oneida. So that would be, if that's something you're interested in learning more about, I will connect you with them. The SUNY system team under this is my boss, Denise Zieski. She's the Director of Workforce Development of Office of Community Colleges and Education Pipeline. And there's some other opportunities outside just the funds that I'm discussing that I think Danielle's going to talk about right after this. They are also administered under Denise. There's me, and I can field questions on the work-based learning training or anything under apprenticeship, because those are all somewhat under the same two areas of funding that I've just given you an overview on. And then we have a coordinator that works works with us part-time, Jan Hennessy. We do have a website and an email. The website is www.suny.edu/apprenticeship. Don't be scared away because it says apprenticeship, because we field all types of interest. And it's not just apprenticeships focused, as I mentioned, work-based learning. That's a huge, important piece of the funds that we have available. They are under apprenticeship funds, but that doesn't mean because you're taking a work-based learning, you want to develop your work-based learning training program that you have to become a registered sponsor. Those funds are available to you because the U.S. Department of Labor sees potentially a really good work-based learning training program already as an apprenticeship, even though the state of New York may not see it that way, and SUNY sees it that way. So I think we look at this as a potential opportunity to support your companies using our community colleges, and that's what is most important here. We also have an email, apprenticeship@suny.edu. Again, if you have interest or questions regarding work-based learning, you can email that as well.
Great.
And
Mary, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was a lot of information in a fairly short amount of time. So
yes,
I'd like to focus on today's topic, which is the 5 Hallmark program.
Yep.
To simplify it. So we're talking, we only have advanced manufacturers or support folks in the room.
Perfect.
And it's my understanding that there is $1,500 per employee available for the 5 Hallmark program. And so just to summarize, and the process for doing that, Danielle's going to review that with us next.
I think Danielle's going to get into some of the other funds available under Workforce,
so
but I do want to
tell us what the process is for doing we just want to hear about the 5 Hallmark program, if you would.
So I have a form up. It's really just this form that
we don't see your screen.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So the 5 Hallmarks program is just this form that attests to us that you are doing these 5 things, that there is a paid work-based component of your training program, that there is some sort of OJT which requires some mentorship. And you don't have to get explicit. We're not managing this. You're just stating to us what it is that you're doing at your company. That there is a need to use a college campus for an educational component. That potentially that person is going to gain some sort of credential, and that doesn't have to be an authorized, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a micro-credential, those things that I mentioned. It could just be a certificate of completion that they've completed some training at your company, but you're just letting us know that they are getting something. That there is a safety, supervision, and equal opportunity employer, and essentially that's it, and that they're being paid. So this form would need to be filled out and signed, and then the college campus that you're working with would submit it to us, the application for the funds to support the individuals.
Great.
And that's it.
There is no other paperwork required. This is one of the things we loved about this program, and then we wanted to make sure we got out. There's no other paperwork. There's no other requirements. And I love the apprenticeship program, but different than the apprenticeship program, this is the extent of the application. Is that correct, Mary?
That is the extent of what would be required upfront from the employer. We do, from the college campuses, want to get a form that says, a FERPA, that this person's information may be shared with us because we're funding them. But the college campus will take care of that. And that's somewhat of a requirement typically for college campuses anyway. So, but that is it. There's not paperwork that we're managing from the company.
Which is amazing. I absolutely love that. I know you said we hope that turns into apprenticeship, but it doesn't have to turn into apprenticeship. It can be just the 5 Hallmark, simple application available to all manufacturers. Although it's called advanced manufacturing, it includes all manufacturers. Anybody familiar with the NAAQS codes, which is 31, 32, 33, and all of you, I think, fit that requirement that are in manufacturing today. So great. Excellent. Is there anything you wanted to add, Mary, to that? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in
No,
before you
I
got
think
to
that's
the
perfect.
application.
That's perfect. I'm going to turn it over to Danielle because I think she has some other areas that we do have to support through SUNY, other opportunities. So I don't want to take any more time away from her.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to touch briefly on the customized corporate training grant. Has a couple names. We're calling it that to try to get it right what it is. We work with you to develop customized training. And it is administered through SUNY, as Mary had mentioned, but it's through a different, it's under a different kind of umbrella. You may have seen it before. It was through New York State Workforce Development Initiative. It has been in SUNY's kind of bounced around. But the purpose of this is that us as SUNY Community Colleges partner with the business to create custom workforce development and job training programs. That's to upskill, retrain your incumbent workers. It can be full-time, part-time. They just have to be employees at the organization. And we customize, and we're going to get into in a minute when the other community colleges join us in the presentation about what sort of offerings that we can give you. So it's, like I said, it's for full-time or part-time employees. We can apply for up to $50,000 per organization within this grant. It's preferred we do whatever training you might want to do in one grant application. We can do it more than one time. If this grant has been completed, we could apply again in the future. And the same with the 5 hallmarks one. You can apply for that for multiple different employees. This one, though, it's typically a group that you're working on a training with. It could be credit or non-credit classes. It could be new things that we work to develop. Typically, this is a shorter term than the work-based learning. So it could be we have a trainer come in for a day over the series of a couple of weeks or a few months. And the other difference is it's not required that they earn some sort of industry recognized credential, but they might. They could through this process. And I know at SUNY Broome, we typically provide some sort of certificate of completion if we're doing a series of classes. We'll get into what it does include because it can include lots of different things, but it cannot include training that's required as part of a mandate or compliance requirement that you have. Basic safety training such as first aid, CPR, sexual harassment training, or new employee orientation. Again, this is pretty simple. We at the SUNY Community College do the majority of the work on it. But with this one, you're required to contribute around 25% of the total project cost. That can be split between cash and in kind, depending on what sort of application it is. You would provide a letter of support for the application stating that you're going to do the training and that you'll provide the match. And then similar to the 5 hallmarks work-based learning, is we would need employee information for reporting services. And then at the end, you would provide kind of a wrap-up letter. But we do the requests and manage the grant part of it, and that would not be on you. Like that, I tried to keep it pretty short. You know, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of different things that could cover within this grant. There's 2 other parts. You know, if you wanted to go with a group of businesses to do some sort of training, there is a consortium project. And then there's also a demonstration project. So if it's something completely brand new that we wanted to apply for and develop a whole training for that none of our community colleges have, or to replicate, that opportunity is also available. And, you know, we would work with you to figure out which sort of grant would be the best fit. You can also apply for this and the work-based learning one. We can do them together. And it can also be partnered with other funding that might be available. So I think we're gonna, if there's no questions right off the bat here, we're gonna hear from one of the businesses that's currently doing this. I'll turn over to Carrie.
Hi there,
Great.
so Carrie here from TC3, and I want to introduce you to Amrit. He is one of the co-owners of Indian Milk and Honey, located out here at Freeville, New York. Beautiful facility, and we utilize the hallmarks and the customized training to put essentially all of his staff through various trainings over the past few months. So Amrit, I'll just turn it over to you so that you can share with everybody your experiences with the training.
Thank you, Kerry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amrit Singh. We started Indian Milk and Honey in 2012. We built a plant here in Freeville in 2014, and I was introduced to Kerry around July of 2021. We have kind of iterated our business model, and we started with yogurt, drinkable yogurt, and we were looking at solutioning or solving customer challenges, and we decided to kind of get into portion packaging. What that entails is basically taking something that has not been done. So we started doing dairy in a pouch. That had a pretty steep learning curve for our team because the equipment that we had to be customized for dairy. It had to be inspected by New York State Ag and Market. It had to be approved by the SQF processes. And then along with dairy, we started doing some allergens. And as you know, in food, you cannot have the same things coexist in the same plant. So we were kind of finding a challenge in how to make sure that all this happens and in a seamless manner, and our people who have been working on other packaging lines can transition from that to this machine that comes from overseas with little to no training. So we designed a module primarily for that, and we engaged with a local rep over here who could help us with that training, but really getting into the automation of how do you fine tune, how do you run, and how do you efficiently produce something without a lot of losses. Now, as we were kind of transitioning and pivoting our business, we also realized that we cannot be selling this product to our existing customer base. So we have to bring in new sales channels. That was a challenge as well, because it's for those of you who are in food, you all know that you develop great expertise within one channel, and switching to another is there's a huge switching cost. So how do we do that? And that's where again we utilize training. And Kerry was very supportive in helping us navigate and say, okay, how you can split this in this manner. We brought on somebody who had experience in the food service channel, who could train our really our lead generation and our sales pipeline development to make sure that we actually go after the right opportunities, because there's a whole universe of opportunities out there. So it was very helpful to use this grant to grow and basically make our business future ready. It was not stipulated that you have to, or mandated that you have to just do this. So that flexibility really helped us use the funds in manner that is appropriate for our business growth. And I think when Kerry and I met the second time, I said, listen, the real hallmark or the testament would be revenue growth in our business. That's happening when you're doing something right. And I think that's what we are kind of gearing for. And I think this grant will help us. We're targeting a 30% growth in revenue this year. And this grant will be really instrumental because we've helped A, get our team up to speed without errors, and B, we can explore new opportunities in the marketplace. So yeah, for anybody who's interested, I would highly recommend. And SUNY is a great partner to work with, and we're building business in our backyard. So if we can work with the college network here, nothing better than that. Thank you.
Thanks, Amrit. We appreciate it. Any questions for Amrit while we have his undivided attention? Fantastic. Thanks again. We really appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us.
Thank you. Bye.
Once again, thank you, Amrit, for taking your time out of your busy schedule to join us today. We really appreciate it. Next up, the SUNY team is going to review and discuss some of the different types of training that are available.
Thank you. So I realized I didn't introduce myself. I just started talking earlier. So I'm Danielle Britton. I'm the Director of Workforce Development and Continuing Ed at SUNY Broome. I'm going to be joined by Jeannie Corning and Carrie with Tompkins-Cortland. So when they speak, I'll let them introduce themselves. But just to do kind of a quick recap, there's two opportunities. You know, we can work with you to help you figure out which of these SUNY opportunities fits best with your needs. And maybe it's both of them. It could, you know, there could be opportunities here for both. Also, the process is fairly similar as you start with your local SUNY Community College, and we're the ones that submit the grant information. It's just what you have to provide might differ, and whether or not you have to put in some funding with it. And we do have kind of a how-to one pager, or it's front and back, so two pager, I guess, that we'll share as well. That kind of gives you the difference between the two and the steps to take. You know, so we're going to talk about what we can offer for you, as well as the in terms of the support and the training. So just a refresher, that one is for a group of employees. You might do it, you know, a series of trainings for a group. You might do the same training several times for different individuals through the customized training grant. And then the work-based learning would be kind of a single individual, although you could have multiple people that's getting support with on-the-job training and some sort of educational component to it as well. So I'm going to let Jeannie speak here for a minute.
Sorry, I think this one's Carrie's.
Oh, sorry, Carrie.
That's okay.
I have my notes up, so it didn't help me.
Well, I couldn't remember which one I was going to do, so it's fantastic. So really, when we work with folks at businesses in the community, we really start out with, you know, what is your need? What are you looking to achieve? How can we help you? And then we go through and we identify what skills would you like to learn. We work with you to make sure that you know, we understand production schedules, right? And we know that's a big thing. So like the middle of the month seems to be the sweet spot because, you know, and then we don't want to do end of quarter or beginning of a new quarter. So we're really flexible and work with you and our trainers to make sure that we're building a program that gets you exactly what you need on your time schedule. And we also realize, you know, that sometimes, you know, while the ideal is to do 15 hours, realistically, we can do 10. And so we work with you to do that as well. So it can be, you know, a variety of topics like Danielle mentioned. I recently did a program for square deal machining where we put 100 people through blueprint reading. So that was multiple sections of one program. And then, you know, from there, a subset went on to do GD&T, and from there, a subset went on to do CNC. So we can really plan out with you what you want for individual employees. They can be from the same department or, you know, various departments. We've done programs where office staff did Excel and then Minitab, you know, so they could understand formulas and statistics and such for reporting. And then, you know, for that same organization, production staff did Excel because they do have to do some data entry, but they also did problem solving. So really there's flexibility. You know, we can help with, you know, development of micro-credentials. Jeannie at SUNY Corning and Danielle at SUNY Broome. We've all worked with industry to develop micro-credentials that are relevant to your business. They can be credit or non-credit. And then really the difference there is credit is more length in time, more thorough, goes into theory and practice, goes through our curriculum committee approvals, and is part of a degree program. Our non-credit programs are meant to be like really sharpen those skills right here and now in a short period of time. So I'll turn it over to Jeannie, who's going to the next slide to see if we missed anything. Or Jeannie, did I miss anything on the previous slide?
No, so I think, yeah, this is just some examples. And so, sorry, I'm Jeannie Eschbach. I'm the Executive Director of Workforce Education and Academic Pathways at Corning Community College. I see many of my colleagues on this call, so welcome. We just threw this slide together to really be kind of an idea sort of thing. You know, what are you thinking that you need? This is just some examples of the kinds of things that we've done. And like Carrie, I just finished doing a blueprint reading with a company, and we're going to be doing GD&T and some other coursework after that. The other thing that, you know, Carrie talked about how flexible we are. We also do things on shifts. At least I know that we do it. And yeah, Carrie's shaking her head, Danielle's shaking her head. So the blueprint reading that I just finished, there were 2 day shift classes and one, you know, 4 to midnight shift class. So, you know, we're open to that as well. Don't think that you have to reassign all your people to come in during the day to do that. So we do try to be very, very flexible. And Daniel, if you want to go to the next slide. So again, back. So again, what do you have to do? You just really have to contact, you know, Carrie, Danielle, or myself, and we will sit down with you and figure out, you know, what's the right fit, what's gonna be happening. So the SUNY grants that Danielle was talking about for customized training, those are open right now for the next year. So we can plan out between now and next June, you know, on those, what do you want to do? And then, you know, if it makes sense to do the other kinds of programs, you know, we can figure out how that works as well. So it really does give you time to kind of plan this out and make sure that the training that we're setting up for you is really going to, as Amrit said, improve your bottom line, because that's really the benefit for all of us, right? Is if your company's doing better, we're doing better, we're all doing better. So that's our goal is the same as you have, is to really help you grow as a company. And then, you know, the necessary documentation, we'll help you walk through that. Again, I think as we've all talked about, you know, there's kind of like one form really that you have to fill out. And if it's the customized work grant, if it's a customized training grant, you have to do a letter up front and a letter at the end. It's really pretty simple. And we do obviously have to get the employee information, but we try to make that really easy. In fact, I just did for this company that was registering so many, I actually just created a spreadsheet and she filled in the spreadsheet from her database. So it worked out really well, rather than her doing a registration form for each student or for each person or having them do it. So we'll even try to make that easy. Okay, and then Danielle, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah, so we'll make sure you have all our contact information, but the next couple of slides are just for each of us. We are going to follow up with AMT to the companies within our respective regions. But if for whatever reason you don't know which community college is the best one for you to reach out to, I would say you probably could reach out to Jeff and Carol, or reach out to one of us. And if we're not the right place, we would redirect you, because that happens as well sometimes. And sometimes we don't have exactly what it is you're looking for, and then might redirect you to one of the other community colleges as well. And that's the end of our slideshow there.
Thanks, Danielle. Appreciate it. So the last funding opportunity we want to talk about today, Dave Goodness from WDI was going to join us, but unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstances, he can't attend today. So I'm going to do the best to fill in and give everybody a little bit of an idea of what WDI is all about. So WDI, which we all commonly refer to as, is the Workforce Development Institute. They're a statewide not-for-profit that really works with all New Yorkers to increase opportunities for them. So one area where AMT works quite often with WDI, as well as a lot of local organizations, some of you on the call today, is in the area of training. So WDI has got funding available where they can, on a reimbursement basis, reimburse you for training opportunities that your team is taking. So it again it's a training-based grant really will cover any type of workforce development or training that your team needs. So all of the different types of training that the SUNY folks just mentioned would qualify. And also, I know Mary mentioned this very early on, this is also the type of grant that can partner with and be used in conjunction with some additional funding. So that's why it's a great opportunity. Typically, the way it works is you as a company, if you're working to schedule training with a company like AMT, for example, we will introduce you to the local regional representative for your area. And basically what you're going to do is provide the WDI representative with a copy of the proposal that you received for the training. The WDI representative is also going to come on site and meet with you and your team, talk about the project, and also go through the paperwork that is needed to apply for the grant. Once you apply, the grant funds are awarded on a monthly basis. So typically takes about 4 to 6 weeks once you apply for that WDI grant to find out if you've been approved. Once you've been approved for that grant, we have seen reimbursements range anywhere from 50 to 90% of reimbursement of those training costs. What I'll also say is there's no limit to the number of times that you could utilize the WDI grant as well. So for lack of a better word, you could go back to the well as many times as you want. The key thing there is you can only have one active grant open at a time. Again, it is reimbursement based and it is exclusive to training. So I hope that I did this justice. All of you will have my contact information. If anybody's got any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. And I know we've got folks from all over the southern tier, as well as some other areas on this call today. So if you reach out, I'd be happy to put you in touch with the right regional representative for your area. But again, we just wanted to make sure we did cover that additional funding source in today's call. So that being said, we have gone through our entire presentation today. I'd really like to thank the SUNY team for all of the information that they provided today. It was fantastic. Thank you very much. We do have some additional time to open it up for some questions. If anybody's got any.
Yeah, what questions are there? Yeah, definitely. There's got to be questions.
Feel free to take yourself off of mute if you've got any questions. And then just while we're waiting, I will also mention that after today's session, we are going to send an email with a link to this recorded webinar, as well as everybody's contact information that presented on the call. And we will also have all of this information posted on the AMT website, which is amt-mep.org. So again, we've got about 10 minutes left. If anybody's got any questions, please feel free to fire away.
This is Janine Cleary from Hardinge. I did have a question. I know obviously we partner with CCC for the machining program, and we're always looking for ways to enhance and improve our workforce for that purpose. But one area that we're wanting help with is learning grinding as an area of specialty, right? You know, a lot of times machining programs cover the turning and the milling operations, but we also could really benefit from having more expertise in grinding. And I was wondering if any of the other institutions, either TC3 or Broome, have like grinding as part of their curriculums, or if that's, you know, even if they have equipment in their labs that might provide for that, if anybody knows of anything like that.
That is a great question, and I will find out the answer. I'm going to look now to see if I can find it, but if I can't, I'll follow up to let you know.
And Janine, I think that's also something that if we did a customized training grant, we could include some equipment, I think, as like it would depend what it is, and if it could be a material. So let's talk more about that.
Okay, that would be great. I appreciate that, Jeannie. And actually, we have someone new to our organization that's on this call too, Lisa. So I want to loop her in because she's also trying to find other funding sources for us, but that's definitely an area of specialty. And I'm even learning, I've worked for Hardinge for 6 years, but I'm learning more about how you progress people, just tighter tolerances, and a lot more painstaking detail to getting it just right, the parts and product. So thank you.
Any other questions?
I did want to add, Jeff, because you had mentioned this with the WDI one. Sometimes I've gotten a little bit of hesitation for the grants because sometimes they can take forever. But these have been really fast to come back. Some within a week or so. So, if it's a faster time frame we're looking for, the grant could definitely still be a possibility.
Yeah, and I would echo that. If the training grants are under 15,000, I know we can go up to 50, but if they're under 15, it skips like a whole statewide step. So Mary's team with Denise gets them approved, and usually we get them back within a week. So not to say that we don't need some prep time, because we do, but it does come back very quickly. It's not like months and months and months. So that can be helpful. And I do want to give a shout out to Lisa Dolan, who's on this call. She's our Department of Labor rep. She's like, what? Wait, she didn't know I was going to do that. But she also is extremely helpful for the businesses in the Southern Tier region. So I just want to give a shout out to Lisa as well.
Lisa, if you'd like to say a couple words, you're more than welcome to take yourself off mute. Please feel free.
Well, thank you. Yeah, if anybody has anything, I'm more than happy to help point you in the right direction. It's been a while since I've been able to do a whole lot with any of the grants, but I'm very happy to jump back in and help. I've had previous experience working with David Goodness and WDI, and they have always been very easy to work with. And as Danielle said, very quick turnaround. So definitely someplace to consider getting some extra funds for. And it sounds like these SUNY ones are really super easy to use. I wish our DOL ones were such a short application. But unfortunately at this point, they're not quite there yet. But yeah, so if anybody needs anything from me, I'm happy to help. And I'm certainly going to be pointing people in the direction that they can go to help get funds from you guys. So that's it.
Thanks, Lisa. And that is one of the things that we were excited about for manufacturers, were how simple some of the processes were, and taking advantage of what's available out there. So there's a lot of things, and we just have to make the connections. So thank you.
Well, I think we've gotten all the questions that we were going to receive. So again, I'd like to thank the folks from the SUNY team for this informative session. And also thank you everybody for attending today and taking time out of your busy schedules. And I'll be in touch with all of you shortly, in addition to our friends from SUNY as well. So again, thanks very much for joining us today. And everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care. Thank you.